Final panel, we wanted to have this powerful ending of the 10th Economic Forum by addressing all of you in the hall and saying that we are the ones forming the future, despite the results of the US presidential election, unpredictable results, the interesting word which we use, despite the impossibility of having the election here, and despite the whole array of challenges which we sometimes do not have the power to withstand, we find it within ourselves to face these challenges and to face the music. Despite the fact that we have lack of finance in education, not even 3% of GDP that we need to develop our country, we keep moving on. We continue forming our own configuration of reality. I'd like to thank all of you here, the thirsty, responsible, professional people, those who keep finding ways out of the most difficult of situations. And even this day you have spent here. You wanted to hear more about the instruments, the tools, you wanted to find new information, you wanted to understand what's going on in Ukraine and worldwide. And this is really important. I thank all of you indeed for spending these 10 years with the Kiev International Economic Forum. Traditionally, the final panel kicks off by inviting founders and owners of businesses, but the main idea of the forum is to shape reality. What is shaping the future of Ukraine and the world? So before this panel, let us pose a question to young economists. How do they, what is their attitude to what they have heard today? Natalia, Daria, we have you here online. So what are the key ideas you've heard during the forum? Please provide your summary. During the Kiev International Economic Forum, we heard a lot of important ideas relating to Ukraine's economy. And the main idea is that every challenge we are facing today is an opportunity for growth and development. We have underscored the importance of action because every action can bring about positive change. It may be an obstacle, but on the other hand, it can be a driving force of success for Ukrainian businesses. We have discussed energy and critical minerals, which Ukraine can offer to the world. Speakers emphasized the need for a new social compact between businesses and the government to ensure stability and development. All those insights give reason for hope for Ukraine having a bright future. Are you surprised by these conclusions? You may say that this is AI-generated address, that you figured it out completely at the very first moment, at the very first glance. Perhaps some of you were confused. Did you think that this was a real person? Well, I did think so myself, and when I saw Vodafone AI-generated image, I was convinced that this was a real person. So, as you can see here, this is our future. This is how it looks like. So this is the thing developed by Vodafone company. There are many variations of AI. It is becoming an object and the subject at the same time. It's assuming its own agency. I posed the question how AI is different from humanity. AI responded, I have no soul, I have no emotions, but I can understand the context and I'm trying to be of use to you. This is probably my own type of soul. That's the story. So now I invite to this stage people with soul. Olga Ustinova, CEO of Vodafone Ukraine. I also invite to this stage Taras Kytsmey, co-founder and member of the board of directors of SoftServe. As a real entertainer, Konstantin Yefimenko making his way to the stage, president of Biopharma Plasma Company. And finally, Andres Desenko, founder and CEO of Biosphere Corporation. Very interesting. Let me pose a question to Daria again. Would it be pleasant for you to hear a round of applause from hundreds of people in the hall? Is it a difficult question for AI? Well, this is a sign of approval, which is inspiring and gives you confidence in what you do. Well, probably we have some technicalities, but still, thank you, Daria. We start our work. This is inspiring. This is what AI says. It needs inspiration, just like everyone here in the room at the end of the day, from you, dear panelists. Olga here is one of the creators of AI, of Vodafone. Question to you. Is AI a challenge for internet industry, for IT industry, for SoftServe in particular, and for you as a head of a group of companies? That's a very cool question. Or are you the creators so you just remain complacent? Resting on laurels. Well, actually, everything that is taking place in the world creates a challenge and an opportunity. We try to remain on the side of opportunities. So, artificial intelligence provides these opportunities to us and for programmers too, for software specialists. Just a year ago, we conducted a experiment. We gave various tasks, the same tasks, to people and to AI, and we saw that the productivity growth by 40%, 40%, thanks to AI. This is the opportunity that, and we need to keep abreast of the times. This panel is, of course, not related to AI. It's, of course, about the challenges of today that these people here, the panelists, are facing. Your business now is very much needed in Ukraine, not only for biopharma plasma. Of course, you face the challenges of your own, or can you say that you are running the wave and you're enjoying this wave? Well, we have the biggest challenge out there. We are at war. The biggest challenge is the possibility of being struck by Russian drones and missiles. In March 2024, our company started building a new factory in Uzhgorod with a budget of $200 million. Thank you. This year, we are going to build new plasma centers in Ukraine too. We are worried about the energy facilities. This year, we installed 2.5 megawatts of additional diesel capacity. We have installed the equipment for storing electricity, and today we are extremely energy independent. For 6 days, our facilities can work without the supply of electricity. The third challenge that we are facing is the challenges faced by personnel. For instance, I can call Olga Nazarenko, and I can feel some disapproval in her voice, and I ask her, did I offend you in some way? Perhaps I'm a person with difficult traits of character to deal with. My friend, she replies, it's just that I have to go to the 15th floor by foot. So, to deal with these challenges, we installed washing machines, drying racks, we had new elevators installed. We purchased 300 bottles for preserving hot foods and beverages. In our kitchen, our employers can prepare that food and bring it home then. It is my deepest conviction that for people to think about my own tasks, we have to care about their own needs. And I'm the one to think about that. Therefore, the challenges we are facing are tremendous. Being aware that we do not know when this is going to end. We purchased 300 hectares of land near Uzhgorod. We are planning to build a new factory in Uzhgorod, which is going to be launched in 2026, the first quarter of that year. So we are used to these challenges. We would like to return to 2020. Perhaps COVID would be an acceptable challenge for us these days. But still, this gives rise to a question. These people would like to use your experience because you have unique experience. You are becoming more and more powerful, you're gaining momentum. But this is not about medium businesses. This is a bit different because components of plasma is a highly technological area. So should people stay here, listen to you? How can you use our experience? I would like to invite you to our enterprise. I will give you a lecture and show you everything. For instance, in the platform in Bila Tserkva city, we have already invested $200 million in a very small area. And as you may know, I'm not sure if the steps that we are taking are correct steps, but I am an entrepreneur. I cannot simply sit idly by and watch this aggression unfold. We have to act instead of just think. We are ready to share experience on this. I think that the times are difficult and they are going to remain difficult. We're expecting something from Trump or from someone else. Well, biopharma is already a leader of the world market. It's a very successful company, but I know the cost of success that I have paid. And I understand that Ukraine can say confidently about victory if the entire Ukraine pays 10,000 times more than I have paid for the success of my company, and there is no other way. Talking about concrete numbers, for the resilience of its network, Vodafone company has paid 1,300,000,000. We are going to continue talking about the interaction with the government. You, as a cell phone operator, understand that probably without electricity, you will have 10 or more hours per day without cellular connection. So, what if the winter is harsh and we are going to have strikes on energy network? Are your effort and your investment going to be enough, or do we need more investments?
Well, first of all, that's probably the most interesting question, whether the communication will stay when there is no light on. I can add you a few figures. The entire network is run by the generators. Professional equipment could last for 72 hours, weeks, depending on the fuel availability. And also, we completely provided for transport hubs, transport nuts, and some 20% of the base stations are equipped with power generators. So we've calculated for a day to keep it running, we need 160 tons of fuel to put in the tanks. And the rest of the base stations would be provided with electric batteries. But still, despite the fact that these batteries are new, they are strong, but still it takes time to be recharged, and it's the big question: how much time might we have to recharge the batteries, and how much time would be between these blackouts? And we negotiate with the state. For instance, in Kiev, we have 1,000 place grounds with the base stations, and 90% of those are on tops, on the roofs, and bring the power generator there is impossible if anything is going to happen and houses will be burned in fire. So we should consider how we can keep the network running. But there is no miracle happening unless there is no electricity for 4 or 5 hours to recharge the batteries. That is going to be very difficult. Can you explain such a difficult thing? We all depend on communication, even more as we depend on heat and light. So the base station, it's not just you place a power generator next to and you can satisfy the required limit 10 hours. Base station, is it something more difficult? Well, yeah, that's the complicated story. It has both antennas and brains and equipment. It's also the issue when the light goes off, we recognize that traffic increases in 10 times. When the network being developed, we normally would have some peak hours, and we plan, for instance, a certain capacity for traffic, plus 50% additionally to be included. But if it is 10 times increase, that's impossible to keep that storage. So that's my personal request. When you lose the light, please be careful with using a mobile internet, because sometimes your neighbors won't be able to call an ambulance because the network is going to be overloaded by things that you can really survive without during the blackout hours. And in 12 days, we will have a big tender. We are going to bid additional frequencies, and frequencies, that is something that we could add to the capacity of the network, because all the base stations operates at a maximum configuracy at all the branches and ranges and frequencies, so we can increase the capacity slightly. But I would like to state that the starting price 3 billion hryvnia of 5 lots, and this is just starting price, and we're going to compete in 12 days, and these are the money to go to the national budget, and these are the money to be paid by the mobile operators. But you will compete, will you? And I will ask you later, what are you going to get rid of in this way? Because there are some things that you are taking care of, IoT, improving Dasha. Whether you can cope with these tenders and competitions by the necessity to increase the capacity of the network and to develop in the directions which you've planned. Uh, Question to Andriy. You probably know what company sells, you probably tasted, and you know. By the way, I've presented this news in this stage year ago, last year. So here comes the question. The people who could drink this tea, you replaced the teas which were expelled from the market. We are going to drink your tea, but this is also the company that provides a product in our daily routine. Almost 1/3 of the population left, and there are several global companies developing in Ukraine. Andriy, is your company got poorer? What are the challenges? Do you make 1/3 less, or because of the tea, your income's been increased? Thank you for your question. It's my pride. I am proud to be at this stage for a 10th anniversary of Kiev Economic Forum. This is a unique project, so I wish you to continue, and maybe in 20 years in future, that would be still us here, but not artificial images to replace us, so we could add value. So utilize our humor, energy in a positive manner. And I'm not going to specify myself. We are not that global company, but we operate on 25 markets, and in a full-scale war, we advanced significantly. We purchased Austrian company Alifix with their brands, 4 branches, and their manufacturing facilities in Romania. When our capacity decreased because our audience had left and 10% more farther down because the price increase to an extent had happened and people getting poorer by our assessment. They use less and less. The average check is decreasing. So because of that expansion to Europe and to Asia, because Freckenbok and Smile are lead brands in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan and very strongly represented in Armenia, in Georgia, and Azerbaijan. Next year, we plan to open our production line in Uzbekistan because it's a 100 million cluster sits there. So due to that fact that we were able to expand externally and we produce under the European brands, this 40% decrease has been balanced by production in Ukraine, and we produce this lost 40% being produced for export. So that is exactly the program of expansion and the global development which we undertake now had worked. Besides, we have created and founded International Advisory Board, which we conduct in Vienna. We have 3 Americans, 2 Europeans, world level professionals who support us to develop our strategy of the global expansion, because we would like to establish a billion cost company like Konstantin Eufimenko, or maybe already billion cost company by Taras. So we have that ambitions, and we build a biosphere 2.0, because the main challenge here in Ukraine, Ukrainian company, Ukrainian part of biosphere is Ukrainian centric. People think on how to raise without the light to their 17th floor. Today, by the way, we saw the drone hit and actually turned away from our apartment house and hit the other building, unfortunately. So safety and security of being here and do maximum. People are exhausted, unfortunately. So we create the biosphere, but the world is not waiting for us. We have to catch with the world. We have tens of the world global competitors working with no restrictions, and the main challenge how to stick to that tempo and where to win by intellect, by design, by wow products, by innovations, by complicated equipment, and where to take millions of investments needed for that. Last week we install the gas power generator for 1.5 gigawatt, which costs million. Well, investing million in the equipment, in developing in some European branches, and we will speak about that. We can't afford, but we invest in infrastructure. Moreover, we support the military, we support society. And that is extremely difficult tasks that we do. Can you specify, while you mentioned the European market and your expansion, the challenges of Ukrainian markets and European markets? You mentioned few Ukrainian challenges, power generators instead of development. How about European market? Do you see your vision of your business in 7-10 years in Europe? So we speak about European integration, and you said it's a very high competition. Maybe at a certain period we will get poorer. Standards are going to be tougher. So what are the European challenges for you? For me, the challenge is the bridge between Ukraine and Europe from the standpoint of separate corporate cultures, logistic challenge, financial challenge. I cannot officially finance my daughters from Ukraine because there are certain restrictions. And if you have a Ukrainian philia, not before the war, but now, you can not officially fund the development of this affiliated company. We would like to expand, we would like to produce for Europe, but we cannot fund that marketing, advertisement, human capital, capexes, because we need to develop, but we can't We have 10 international specialists working from different global companies, different global cultures, and the culture of resultativeness and efficiency of biosphere, our standards, speed, challenges, ambitions. You're not doing the result, then goodbye. That's the way it is. So that's sad that we have to deal with daily, and we're still growing. This year we grew twice, in 2 times. Oh, one more. And next year, 2 more times to grow twice. So he likes to add twice more to those 3 times that I've just mentioned. But no one really knows how much was there. So easy to believe. My question to Konstantin: in your interview to Forbes, you stated that if we speak about Europe, we don't have advantages in human capital, in technologies, in access to money. Nothing had changed. However, you are monopoly in 6 countries. Where do you drag investments? Where do you get funding for development? Placing laundries like power generators pulls you back. I'll open you a secret. We have money. Yeah, I'm jealous. We do have money and we don't need to look for money. Biopharma #1 in Ukraine, in Kazakhstan, Iraq, Ecuador, Bosnia Herzegovina. Thank you. Now we've been registered and start our supplies to Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, Turkey, Balkans. These are our priorities. We would like to be a regional leader and take our positions there. What are the challenges in Europe? I can just mention you the challenges in Romania. For instance, there is a law that prohibits donorship. A private company cannot build up the plasma centers, and some medical related issues, a complete prohibition. In December, we opened the first plasma center in Radia. So limitations and limits are in our minds. We start and we do and we deal with challenges when they arise. Is it legally or is it sort of offshore? I think so. My lawyers were not agreeing with me. I fired lawyers. I hired different lawyers. I paid them 3 times more. And now these lawyers again disagreeing with me. So could Biopharma be Ukrainian ambassador and you taking the blood and separating the plasma components, you can study and review the population and analyze. We never analyzed Russians, what sort of people they are. And here comes Biopharma. You can study and analyze Kazakhstan by taking the blood. It takes 45 minutes. You spend 2 hours in the blood center. You know, I'm very well prepared. So here comes the question. Maybe it's not real to combine several objectives to take blood samples and speak to people and study population. You see, our objective is not to study mindsets and thoughts. Moreover, I don't think we need all these thoughts. Everyone has its own secrets. Being serious, we take the components of the blood, and our production is a life-saving production. Biopharma in 2026 in Bila Tserkva will process 700,000 liters of plasma, millions of dollars processing. So our factory in Uzhgorod, in Radia, and 2 more in Bila Tserkva. In 10 years, we have to build capacities able to process 3.5 million plasma in order to satisfy the needs of Ukraine, Balkans, Turkey, Middle East, and South America. And that's what we're working at strongly. So, Taras, question to you. We met last time, or I was a participant of an event hosted by DCD Union, and you ran the panel on education. You were extremely engaged. You not even allowed yourself to take a seat. So my question to you, how the business owner you realized how to build up the proper ecosystems, how should you run besides making money and paying taxes, how do you invest in education of the younger generation, which in 7-10 years will lead the state. Quite often it sounds here, and it's logical, the dissatisfaction of interaction with the state, but business community quite often respond to challenges quicker and more responsively, and there are some things to be merged. Like you, Konstantin, I know you do in your labs, merging, and they can run these researches and developments for years. Doesn't mean that we will get a solution here and now. You have answers to these questions. What do we do with education? But at business level, do we wait for the proper history book? Or do we allocate some stipends? Or do we combine with business schools in Ukraine and allocate again some stipends and look for statehood minded officials who will understand the business which pays taxes? Well, the question is quite wide here. There was a very proper, decent panel. We had a representative from the Ministry of Education, state universities, private universities, informal education, and so forth. The first thing I would like to mention, there is a myth in Ukraine that education is not developed because it is not funded sufficiently. Maybe education is not developed because of finance, but maybe the main reason is not institutionalized enough. If we take private universities, that could be Kiev School of Economy, uh, Ukrainian Step University. They don't have any national state funding, but these are the leading institutions. But these are the institutions. If we would like to develop education, we have to develop institutions, and each institution starts with strategy and Ukrainian universities. In fact, we have state owned universities, private universities take a very small niche, and that's the pain. And our value that those universities becomes the role model, an example. The Catholic University in Lviv, everyone look at that university and would like to repeat that experience. But each university, that's the people, first of all, and the success of university depends on the people working there, and the people joining the university depends on the personnel policy. Personnel policy is not available at the state-owned universities. State universities do not have the issue of financial policy. So what we have to do, there are many initiatives. Yes, business, and as I said, business complains on universities, but business has to bear responsibility. You cannot be purely consumer of university services. For the first time in Ukraine, there is a pilot going on. 3 universities, Chernigiv, Zaporizhia, Carpathian, and Kiev Aviation, do a pilot when the management board runs the university. And the management board nominates the dean and traditionally the governance structure, like in business. And we expect that it will demonstrate its outcome. There are many other ways business has to try to be included actively. I am the member and the head of the management board of the Ivan Franko University. 3 days ago, I was appointed as a supervisory board member at Lviv Polytechnic University. I was ex-senator of Lviv Catholic University, but not to pride myself.
You probably say it's for us to congratulate you on this accomplishment. I recently been invited into the commission of appointing supervisory boards to these 3 universities, and we had the inaugural meeting of that commission. So, I mean, businesses have to be inspired to work for the sake of education. Education is the basis of our future. Education has to be globally competitive. This is the point of the future that we have to achieve. If we want our children to stay in Ukraine and develop in Ukraine, they need to prefer Ukrainian education to foreign education. So, for instance, we have IT industries that are competitive globally. So why can't we have Ukrainian education that would be similarly competitive on the global scale? So this is the task that our businesses have to work on. I'm not sure how much time I have left, but still let me give you an example. Our company is widely represented and visible in the world, and our standard product is dual education, and it comes down to us having an agreement with a department at the certain university. We develop marketing activities, we have educational programs, we demonstrate our capabilities to students to make them inspired, to encourage them to take up studies. Starting from first grade, we invite students to come and visit us. Starting from second and third grades, people can already start giving lectures. Starting from fourth grade, they can have internships, and then in later stages, they can even start working in our company. Probably they remembered well where those machines of yours were located. Yeah, so this is the experience that we use throughout Ukraine, where we have development centers. Uh, Thereby, we are trying to share our experience, and this brings us closer to real result. So, I have used my 1 minute, but the subject is a wide-ranging one. Uh, you have given the answer, and thank you. Here I am playing on your field, and Konstantin's field too, because he is also engaged in educational activities. But the educational area is really the cornerstone. I don't know what kind of machines are stationed in Bilacerqua in your center. Well, these are great cars. So this is how you attract new promising specialists. But you spent 2.5 million to do this, and only in August you started the training. So have you calculated how much will it cost you to attract one student? Were you pragmatic in this respect, or did you think that you simply need to attract more people to the company? Well, I would not do that, but I have great respect for my friend Taras. Biopharma, if even if you have $200 million, you may not be able to build Biopharma, the company like Biopharma, because you need education. You need to train your biologist. You need lecturers, professors, equipment, and so on and so forth. We have lost all of that in Ukraine. Biology as science in Ukraine is dead. 20 biologists in Ukraine, we all know them by names. I think that the social compact in Ukraine is broken between society and the state. It is broken by default. 48% of Ukrainian businesses are simply not paying taxes. For instance, 1,400,000 people in Ukraine earn just 8,000 hryvnias. 2 million people are in the underground business, and their salaries are delayed because of that. We are not paying taxes, but we think that by not paying taxes, we have deceived everyone. And this is the problem. The teacher, when he comes to school, is expected to read 18 hours of lectures, but he gets only 6,400 hryvnias per month. What do you expect from him? What do you expect from him to teach our children? So that is why we have only one lesson of biology and chemistry per week. And in the upper classes, in the senior classes, there are no lessons in these subjects at all. For technical universities, you need to buy chromatographers. And chronomatographers are not a cheap thing to buy. They cost, for instance, at our company, $150,000. So, in a way, we have deceived the state by not paying taxes. But state, because of that, was not able to allocate those taxes to develop biology, which means that has a direct effect on the health of Ukrainians too. The second problem why we do not have education is because we are not able to take action. For instance, there was a rocket attack at Ahmadet Children's medical facility, but we were not able to generate enough funding to restore it. We have the country of bloggers who uh, make all sorts of revelations about corruption, of the restoration of this medical facility. I would not engage in this kind of discussion, but we have it. We have allocated $2.5 million to rebuild the school in Bila Tserkva, and we are going to allocate 1.5 million more. We are also going to provide assistance to the Palace of Youth in this city. We are trying to publish books in Ukrainian on biochemistry, and I'm going to provide these books to Ukrainian schools free of charge. We are going to build 10 new classes in Ukraine for children to learn biology. We have selected 10 winners of Ukrainian Olympiads in biology, and in cooperation with Ukrainian universities, we are organizing the participation of these best students in international competitions. We need to build great Ukrainian startups. Because if we do not change the social compact without starting to pay taxes, we will not live to see victory, and we will not live to see cool companies. So, this is not the thing I would like to do, but I need it. It is not there, so I have to engage in this sort of activities. So, my motivation is the thirst for profit. Biopharma is paying around 1 billion hryvnias in taxes. So this is our motivation, which encourages us to build our company in the future. Thank you. Well, who knows? The businesses of Konstantin Yefimenko, this is the only thing we can expect from him. He is going to act without expecting anything forever. Question for you now, for Vodafone company. We keep talking about corruption, the payment of taxes, that it gives rise to a question. We imagine an ideal Ukraine without corruption, without marauding, without banditry, because this is often not about corruption but about banditry. What this state would look like? Would it be a technological country? Because now we do not have that many technological companies. Some people say that there are not enough IT specialists in Ukraine, but on the other hand, students claim that there is an overabundance of IT students, and they are often released from classes because there is not enough room for them. So, how do you see our country strategically? We do not have this strategic vision for now. Do you think that we will be mainly agrarian country like we are now? Are we going to export honey and wheat? This vision of our country, how it is going to look like. Let me add a little bit on corruption. Tolerance to corruption here is zero. How many of you have an iPhone? Just by raise of hands. 80% of people here have iPhones, and 80% of those iPhones were transported to Ukraine illegally without the payment of taxes. So we need to start from ourselves. There's a very simple mechanism how to prevent such fraud. Every phone has a database, and it's very easy to simply switch off the phone which was transported to Ukraine, imported without the payment of taxes. Some people may claim that this is impossible, so do it yourself because it's so difficult, but if there is political will to really build a new, advanced economy, we are to change our own attitude to corruption. Our tolerance to corruption has to be zero. Talking about the future during the war, we significantly increased our investment. In 3 years of the war, we have already invested $500 million into the network, into cybersecurity, and so on. We are now building the network for the future because when we visit and go around those recovery conferences and talk about money spending for recovery, I catch myself thinking that I hate this word. I'm not going to rebuild the country like it was before the war. I am not going to invest money into rebuilding companies the way they worked before the aggression, because we have a chance to make a leap forward based on modern technologies. And if we do not take advantage of this chance, it will be very difficult to build a competitive Ukraine. We are creating infrastructure, we're investing money into it, and all the factories that will be fully automatized with 5G technologies, with robotization, all of that has to be done now. Uh, as for what can be done during the war, this year in Kiev, we started a new coverage, meaning that all the equipment used for tracking utilities can be automatized. And the key thing about this standard is that this equipment for utilities allows economizing, allows saving electricity. So the battery will have to be charged once in 8 to 10 years. So you install it just once and forget about it. This is about our attitude to people. People do not have time to go around, stand in queues, send the data, submit it in person because of air alerts. You have to ask yourself a question. Have you really chosen a correct technology, correct equipment? Are you really building a competitive country, a competitive product for the future? Let me stick to this. So, is there no political will to build a transparent market of devices, or is there no technology? Taras, I think that you may have similar technology. So, this is simply incredible. This is not a matter of technology to me. This is a matter of political will. But we bring up the matter of political will when the rules are not working. So rules may have been developed by your companies. Vodafone may have developed these norms. Well, these norms are working. We propose them. As a cell phone operator, I cannot disconnect devices from the network because we are working in accordance with the law of Ukraine on telecommunications. We need the state to take a step forward and say that you have a gray market of cell phones. So please, during 32 days, please send a notification to your users that you need to pay taxes for your phone. Otherwise, you will have to return it. Or you will be disconnected from the network. And your cell phone will simply become a useless box, which you can decorate and put somewhere in your glove apartment. Do you remember the price of your iPhone, by the way? Well, I would not mention it right now, but during our economic forum, we keep saying that to have better education, to have better roads, to have roads where cars will not get broken, or we definitely need to start from ourselves. So we need to exert effort. On the website of Apple, the basic iPhone 16 costs 64,000 hryvnias. Have you bought it yourself officially by direct contract? Via official retail when you pay all the taxes with zero margin? Have you bought it at a discount, cheaper? Definitely no one's going to raise hand here. A yacht is definitely something that is going to simplify our life. And instead of having to communicate with 9 people, you will have to simply use this technology. And people are not willing to work because some of them are conscripted, and for others, the salary is too low. So simply do not go to us complaining about the utilities and some inconsistencies that you see in your bills. We need to make a technological leap here because otherwise we are going to find ourselves at a worse situation that we had before recovery. Well, I have iPhone 15, so you find a way out of this tricky question. For me, this is not a matter of what the state has to do. This is all about economy. People are not foolish. If in Ukraine you can buy an iPhone legally, like in the United States, no, at the same price, then it's okay. But our price is higher. So people simply look at this and think to themselves, what is the reason for me to overpay? So if we increase the price in the United States by 10 to 20%, then it's not going to be a problem for Ukraine. We are all very rational, particularly at this challenging time. But the price is formed officially. Then iPhone crosses the border. That is because we have the 20% increase. Someone has to pay. It's either everyone pays taxes or no one. So this is the cargo sent from the United States, and Apple has the price for every region worldwide. So 20% is not that much. 25-30% is not that much. It's not the difference of 2 times. So iPhone iPhone's price is 60,000 hryvnias. And the entrepreneurs selling those iPhones cannot work as individual entrepreneurs because the scale is much higher. Still, I think that Ukrainians cannot overpay. They're not that rich. If Tesla cost higher, then I think Chinese will be at an advantage.
Пане Тарасе.
Can I? We probably look in the wrong place. The problem and the challenge. Ukraine as a state has a very weak statehood institutions, a radically weak zero level. And when I went to the shop, I got iPhone 14. I double checked now. So when I go to any shop to shop for iPhone, I'm a goodwill customer. Why should I be accused that I bought something in the shop? You see, if someone is not paying taxes, someone is making money on that. Maybe there is a governmental institution or people working in it. I guess I'm correct. So let's look there, but not among very diligent customers. We have number of issues. I bought a land and then I've been in prison because there were sins of the previous owner. How come I become responsible for that? So we should be a goodwill customers, goodwill owners. So let's counter those who break the law. That's what we're speaking about, a current challenge, how to reform the state. Should that be an active request from the bottom, or should we educate those who will run the state in 10 years, like Konstantin is doing? You see, it's a comprehensive question. The society tolerates a lot. You go to school. So probably we should talk about that as well. We teach kids a lot. Do we teach kids how to elect, how to vote for a candidate, how to choose? Each candidate describes its own future or its own past or the results. Just there are a few specific points kids to be taught. State has very weak institutions. And the problem is that we don't understand what are these institutions. Let's take a SoftServe company, more than 10,000 employees. How company is seen by the Ukrainian society? Galera. So they take programmers, they take them as a transit ship, and they work for capitalists. Sorry? They work for Taras. So, Taras, the proxy company. No one underestimates this Galera as an institution, but that Galera has been developed for 30 years. There are millions of processes. There are nailed. And this programmer not being at this Galera would not be able to produce any product. Starting with a school, do we teach our kids how to organize themselves and how to build mini processes? The entire America, US, runs the world because they overload everyone with their own processes. Go to America and you try and find an engineer when he starts the new day in a new office, they start with the processes. So processes runs the world. And we all tolerate in the state that the state institutions work without processes. Any state institution, the way it works, the accountant in any organization, everyone on its own, of course, organizations with no processes would have people who would be able to use that situation for their private benefit, and that leads to problems in customs, in with phones and whatsoever. We have to develop state institutions. State is the set of institutions. For sure, that's why I ask, we're about to conclude soon. How do we, your respective organizations, there's respective galeras, where there's a very strict of rules, how can we upscale that? Can the state become the world of super companies, Vodafone, Biopharm? We have not even touched the fashion industry. And with a certain set of values, the staff members will reach the future. Could that be the case? Or still interacting with the state? We've heard Olga. In which way we should interact? Konstantin, I know you're an independent element. You are not expecting anything from the state. Moreover, you are going to lobby your interest, and the state would look at you and refer to your interest. You see, it's a very difficult question. Today, the state has a single major key question. It's not how to restore Ukraine, it's how to finish the war. Let's not to forget that the war is not over, and that may be ended in a way that we would not like. So the primary task that state has to deal with is to find a way to end the war. And that could be the construction of defensive assets, that could be the production of arms and ammunition, mobilization of each and everyone. That is the primary task. Taxes. It's not the matter of iPhone, but when not everyone pays taxes, the system is not working. If 50% of companies do not pay taxes, if big business or mid-level business being structured through private entrepreneurs, the nature of collapse is obvious and clear. So here comes the teacher's salary 6,400. That's the director's salary in Bila Cerkva, 13,000. So the state should not interfere in the matters which is not purely there. They have to deal with the budget and mobilize efforts to stop the war. Speaking about future things, we have to build technology consuming companies. For the company equivalent to Biopharma may take 15 years. We need lands, We need new lines, and let's build new factories with new technologies. Where are you going to take these new technologies? There are no universities. University is unable to produce any technological product. The first top place for biology to work is Nova Poshta, and number two, ATB shop, and three, Dila and Sinevo. This is not science. These are laboratories and sample taking diagnostics. So what we're talking about, everyone has to do their own job, mind their own business, and state has to support fundamental science. None of the business can move the fundamental science, but it's too early. We have to put an order to normal things, to put the glass on the Ahmadiyat windows. An easy thing, but 3 months, there is no windows still. We have to collect taxes. We have to build defensive lines. We have to put an order with mobilization. It has to be made at money expense. Why we can't sort the telephone thing? We're afraid to say everyone pay taxes. We're afraid to say what 3 dozens of bloggers would say, because that's a sort of a social agreement. We betray the state by not paying taxes, and they betrayed us in a medicine or in other scientific area, and then build up 140 meter skyscraper built at Klovsky for the sake of hospitals. So it's like a broken mirror's kingdom. We have to break it, even us. Taras, of course, we're not going to build 10 factories for biopharm based on Ukrainian universities' potential. True. The way ahead, we should be an open state for the entire globe, and external biofarms should enter Ukraine and compete with Constantine. Our primary task is to bring external investors with their own technologies to produce their own products, and people around would be growing. You see, the step one, investors come, then potential of our people is growing, and then own factories be developed. What China started with and where China is now, we should not be afraid of external investors to develop our human capital. IT industry also survived 30 years, and in 30 years we generated our own international capital, our product companies, drones are flying. Can you imagine what we would have in the company if there would be no IT industry founded 30 years ago? But external investors to be attracted, we have a total deregulation being introduced. Do you know that in 2010 the software development was about to be licensed in order to make a Ukrainian product the best in the world? God bless the association prevented that from happening. And we do not regulate IT now, and we do have IT at the global level. So we have to deregulate things totally, to privatize things at maximum. We have to recognize that the state-owned institutions are not efficient managers. Not in Ukraine. In Ukraine, they are not super not efficient, but the same refers to international environment. So we have to attract international investors, and the success of the state would be considered at the success of those human capital level, which we have still in Ukraine, to grow human capital, and then that human capital will create 10 more biofarms, because there would be people, technologies, and universities. But this is not the quickest way, not the quickest, and it's not about 10-year perspective. We mentioned deregulation. Officially from the stage would like to announce, we don't need 10 biopharma in Ukraine. One is enough. One is enough. I don't know, maybe we need 10 SoftServe, but Ukraine will enjoy just one biofarm. Don't promote competition in that area. And life hack for Konstantin. The best wife could be found in plasma center as donors because they are 100% healthy and socially responsible. So those who apply to plasma centers, connecting people. Is it your tea served there? Because there's a cookie and sugared tea provided. We just see that people are exhausted. So my last question, my final question, Olga, for you. The entire discussion about challenges. So your relations with state. You are to pilot 5G, you to keep the capacity for 10 hours of the network. What is a treatment to mobile operators by raising these requirements? Is your life been eased? Yes, our life been eased. We have twice more inspections coming. They believe if that would be two more reviews and controls, we probably will have twice more amount of power generations. No benefits, no support in terms of funding. We're not even mentioned that, but we are in a dialogue in order to find some common solution how to keep that relations. And I would like to take that opportunity. We have not mentioned that subject. My final statement, I do hope I can encourage all of us. Pay attention to IT security. In 2024, we faced with 500 cyber attacks, and now the war goes on not only the regular battlefield, but it is a cyber war. So those who have sites, databases, please invest in cybersecurity. You have to defend your infrastructure. You have to defend your data. We are under the huge attack from aggressor. So this is my message. There are factories, there is an infrastructure, but safety and security, not only the physical, but also cybersecurity, is going to be very critical. Hundreds of attacks on Vodafone. Thank you all. Andris Desenko, who already started to agree the meetings, Konstantin Yefimenko, who hinted that should not several biofarms. Tarase, thank you for your visions, the way you believe we have to develop the education. Olga Yefimenko, thank you for artificial intelligence. Thank you for highlighting our problems.